gamers, gals, and my non-binary pals. It's your boy Stevie. And if there's one thing I hate more than money leaving my pockets, it's AI tools. So, what specifically do I mean by AI tools? I think, hot take, not all AI is bad. This is gonna be an insane take for some of you, but I think that obviously there are degrees where AI tools and the usage of AI is extremely useful in regards to like cutting things down, you know, just providing better quality of life in regards to some certain things. One of the things that like Dual Logs does, for instance, is in case you don't want to read a giant ass fucking paragraph, he will just insert that into like an AI reader of his own voice, so it can just read it back to you, for example. There are like a lot of like really cool things that AI can really make quality of life, like that, or things like photo upscalers. Stuff like photo upscalers is something that like we and Team Blunder sometimes do. Sometimes some images, just their source images, are just kind of shit quality, so using like AI upscaling is really, really useful in that regards. But we're not talking about that. We're gonna talk about one of the popular trends that have been popping up, and that is auto clipping. If you guys don't know, clipping or timestamping or whatever you want to call it is basically the act where you go to like someone's stream and you basically watch the whole thing and you're like, okay, this was a funny moment, this was a funny moment, this was a funny moment, this was a funny moment. And then you like take all that and then you send it to the streamer or the editor and you're like, all right, these are like the funny moments, pick out like the best ones and like throw away some of the mid ones. And then they go through it all and then they whatever it's called. It's a pretty tedious process and it's pretty annoying, but it allows you to, you know, more easily generate like shorts content, for example. Now, as with all jobs, the automation industry decided to kick in and we started to see a lot more stuff like this. We have like Vika, she has a tool where she has a fully automated clipping system, or products like this, like Opus Clip. Now, do I think that there is some degree of utilization that can be done with these sort of clips? Yes. I'm obviously not going to deny that if you have a certain type of content that does not require that much visual aid or needs that much like dynamicism, then yes, of course, auto clipping is going to be a tool that you should probably look into. The problem is most of these auto clippers are not trained very well. They're trained to produce one specific type of content and visualization over and over and over again. And if you want to know exactly what that is, let's take a look at this graph right here. Clavicular, Nick Fuentes, and Hassan Piker. Can you kind of guess what their whole fucking content spiel is? That's it! But in the more specific sense, they're mainly just sitting in a room, talking either back and forth or talking in like with like a static background. Like let's look at an example, Nick Fuentes.
This has to be the breaking point.
It is a guy sitting in a room and an editor maybe puts like images up.
You called JD Vance's wife a Jeet. What does that?
It is two people sitting in a room where one person is cut off and another person's there, and you can configure that pretty easily.
Tweeted.
You guys get the idea. These auto clippers are really good at creating content where the only thing you need to worry about is just a guy sitting in a room motionlessly. Now, if we know things about VTubers, the number one thing that they're not doing is sitting in a room talking, except for like just chatting streams, but we don't talk about that. The main thing is that, in my opinion, if you're a VTuber and you're like, my content needs to pop off, or like, I want to create more popular content, or I want to make higher quality content, and you want to make sitting in a room content, you should just make scripted content. You should offline record a bunch of audio, a bunch of story times, whatever, and have the editing carry those clips. The reason why people like Hassan or Nick Fuentes or Clavicular or whatever is because of very, very, very different reasons. Hassan's kind of like a legacy name and a politics streamer. Nick Fuentes is a politics streamer. And Clavicular is a completely different case in the sense where he's more of a manufactured content baby, but we don't really talk about that. Don't worry, I'll get to that in a different video. But we're kind of talking about in the sense of you are a creator who wants to like optimize your workflow. Unfortunately, auto clippers, they're just not really going to do that, which is why whenever I say like Vika stuff, when you look at like her automated clipping tool, like it's got a pretty good amount of setup where you have to spend like what, 30 to 50 minutes setting this all up, especially if you're like having to rewatch segments. You have to be able to like separate scenes and you have to be able to like have that be split up, especially if you're changing scenes. Like sometimes the camera perspectives just aren't going to be perfect. And then sometimes you just have to like have the markers set up on your own. Yeah, like it shows here that it's going to have your markers done for you. And it's like, wow, I feel like we already just did all the timestamping ourselves, huh? And then you have to go through this like fuck ass like 1984 UI. Look at this. This is like the scariest user interface I've ever seen. This is sort of why user experience and user interface design is so important. Because yes, obviously like this is something, if you know where everything is and you know what everything looks like, you know exactly what to look for, you will obviously have a much easier time using this and explaining this to people relative to someone's new. When I look at this, I'm fucking horrified horrified. I'm like, holy shit. Am I like hacking into the Pentagon? No, I'm figuring out how to make clips. And this sort of user experience is very, very scary. That's why whenever people are like, hey Stevie, what do you use to edit? Or like, what would you ask most people to start off to edit? I'm never gonna recommend them be like, yeah, start off with like Adobe Premiere Pro. That'll be a great one to get you started on. Because that UI is fucking horrifying. That's why like 90% of the time, I'll be like, use DaVinci or like CapCut. CapCut's pretty fucking good. CapCut will get you like 80% of the way there, and DaVinci Resolve will get you like 100% of the way there if you just ignore all the fucking resource guides. And like, if you actually do start taking editing seriously, then you can start moving on to like Adobe Premiere. But you would never recommend someone who's like just starting to like use a tool as complicated as looking as like Adobe Premiere or Sony Vegas or this. Like, yes, when you go through all of this, it is very much like, cool, we've done it. What do these shorts actually look like? Wow, it is a static screen with like one kind of weird crop perspective and one secondary perspective with no real editing and auto-generated captions. You think I'm being unfair? Let's go to another one. It is one game cropped POV with no editing outside of thing here, thing here. You know what the funny part is? If you have any idea how to edit, you spend 1 hour editing, you can make these shorts in CapCut in like 10 minutes. You could honestly do this shit in 5 seconds. It would not be difficult. So at best, auto clippers allow you to create extremely high quantities of low quality content. And at worst, they're just not doing anything for you and you wasted a couple hours trying to set up and spending your money on a subscription program that just doesn't really work. Because again, auto clipping is just not there yet, at least for the type of content that VTubers are trying to usually look for. Now again, if you are a podcaster or most of your content is done in a very specific way, think of just sitting in a room or think of like doing an IRL stream or something, then something like Vika's tool would serve a real purpose. But if you're focusing on growth and you're trying to focus on high quality content and you're not just trying to shit out as much random garbage onto the platform as possible with like a clip farm or just posting every single like minute, every single day, every single year, then I would recommend staying away from these sort of platforms and instead figuring out how to timestamp for yourself and learn how to edit higher quality videos in regards to shorts, because that is the type of skill set that is transferable to different projects and should be added to your skill set overall and is going to actually give you the numbers and metrics that you're looking for. Like, let's be real, chat. Like, I don't fucking upload shorts or YouTube videos or whatever that often, but if I try or if I give a shit, congratulations. It's really not that hard. Just come up with a good idea and learn how to edit properly. I filmed this in fucking like Pennsylvania. You can kind of look and you can kind of tell that it's just kind of a whatever video. But if you have basic editing ideas, you have basic editing skills, you will be able to turn really simple ideas and scripted videos into high quality, whatever it's called. You'll just have a good time. You'll just have a great time. Don't take the easy way out or what you even perceive to be the easy way out. Just do your best in order to learn good skills. Learn skills, thumbs up. I don't know, those auto clippers aren't worth it unless you're exactly Clavicular. That's the video. Thank you for watching. Goodbye forever.